This week on Hometown Ghost Stories. For 66 years, Preston Castle stood as a monument to reform and a witness to suffering. Built in 1894 as California's first institution for wayward youth, its red brick walls saw generations of disaffected youth pass through, some to redemption, others to ruin. When the lights went out in 1960, the building fell silent, but the silence didn't last. From the boy shot during his escape attempt, to the sick left to die in its infirmary, and finally to Anna Corbin, the beloved housekeeper whose unsolved murder still echoes through its basement. The castle has never forgotten. Join us as we dive into the brutal history and subsequent hauntings of the infamous Preston Castle.
Hometown Ghost Stories contains serious and often distressing events and is not intended for all audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
Preston Castle, Ione, California, present day. My bones creak, and the wind cuts through to my core. I'm old now, and little but memory holds me together. I stood in service for more than 6 decades, watching lives come and go until the day the lights went out for good. My halls have long since fallen silent. My rooms lie still and hollow, except for the few who never truly left. They drift through me now, bound not by walls or chains, but by whatever it is that keeps the dead from finding peace. Some were prisoners in life, and others were their keepers. But those who remain are all prisoners now, bound here for eternity. On the second floor lives one Samuel Goins, a boy arrested for theft. One night it was late, he tried to escape, but a bullet laid him to rest. Imprisoned in 1918 for burglary, Samuel was gunned down during an escape attempt. His spirit now wanders my halls, unaware of his own demise. I feel the coldness of his presence, and I wish I could help him, but I can't speak. I can only creak and sigh as he passes through me, forever running, forever falling short of the gate he'll never reach. On the first floor resides a boy confined to the infirmary while he drew breath. Though his stay was brief, it became his relief when agony gave way to death. He is only one of countless boys who drew their final breath within these walls, felled by the illnesses that swept through me in the early 1900s. Influenza and consumption, just 2 of the plagues that tore through my depths, filling my corridors with the sound of coughing and prayer. The air itself seemed to rot with their breath, and when silence finally came, it settled over me like dust I could never shake. In the deepest depths resides Anna Corbin, who was simply making her rounds. No tears were shed when they caved in her head, yet her killer never was found. I watch her restless soul pace the cold stone floor, her keys still jingling softly in the dark. She moves with purpose, unaware that her work is done. Some nights, I think she's the one keeping me alive. I'm Dave Wilkins, and this is Hometown Ghost Stories, Preston Castle, Ione, California. Ione, California sits in the rolling hills of Amador County and traces its roots back to the mid-1800s. Originally part of a Mexican land grant called Rancho Arroyo Seco, the area was first settled by ranchers and prospectors during the California Gold Rush. While nearby towns like Jackson and Sutter Creek grew out of mining, Ione became known as a supply hub and a transportation stop for miners heading into the mother lode. Before the Ione name stuck, the settlement went by a few rough nicknames like Bedbug and Freezeout, until a man named Thomas Brown suggested naming it after the heroine from the novel The Last Days of Pompeii. The name caught on, and Ione developed into a quiet but vital community surrounded by fertile farmland and rich clay deposits. By the late 1800s, California faced growing criticism for sending young offenders to prisons like Folsom and San Quentin, where they lived and worked beside hardened criminals. Reformers called for a more humane approach, one that would rehabilitate rather than punish. In 1890, the state purchased a 230-acre parcel of land just outside Ione from the Ione Coal and Iron Company for $30 an acre, with an additional 100 acres donated. Construction began soon after on a new kind of institution, the Preston School of Industry. The administration building, which would later become known as Preston Castle, was designed in the Romanesque Revival style to look like a school rather than a prison. Its bricks were made at Folsom and San Quentin, using sandstone quarried 6 miles from Ione, and they arrived by rail, 6,000 bricks at a time. On December 23, 1890, the cornerstone was laid before a crowd of 2,500 people, marking the beginning of a bold new experiment in juvenile reform. When the castle opened in June 1894, it was a grand structure of red brick and arched windows rising above the Gold Country landscape. The school officially began taking wards on July 1st, and within a year, it even had electricity, powered by a water wheel-driven dynamo called a Pelton wheel. At its peak, the Preston School of Industry encompassed 1,000 acres, 3/4 of which were farmland and operated around 50 buildings. It housed up to 800 boys at a time, overseen by a staff of about 200. But behind the progressive language of education and moral instruction was a strict and often brutal reality. Discipline included public lashings, isolation, and starvation. Boys were shaved and submerged in chemical dunking baths to treat lice, forced into military drills, and subjected to constant threats of corporal punishment. Some were even operated on without proper medical facilities. Before 1913, surgeries were said to have been performed directly on the floor. Over the decades, thousands of boys passed through Preston's doors, including several who would go on to become notable names. Alan Smiley, the right-hand man of mobster Bugsy Siegel, was sent here in 1926 for first-degree robbery. Eddie Anderson, who would later gain fame as Rochester on The Jack Benny Show, was once a ward of the school. Bill Sands became an author and founder of the 7th Step Rehabilitation Program, inspired by his time in institutions like Preston. Actor Rory Calhoun arrived in 1937 and immediately began a pattern of escapes and recaptures that became legendary among the staff. After multiple stints and repeated attempts to flee, he eventually turned his life around, becoming a successful Hollywood actor known for his westerns of the 1950s and 60s, including a role in How to Marry a Millionaire in 1953. Country music icon Merle Haggard was sent there in 1953 for auto theft. He was labeled as incorrigible after a string of escapes and returns. His time at Preston, and later San Quentin, would go on to shape the outlaw persona that defined his career. By the mid-20th century, Preston Castle's reputation had shifted from hopeful experiment to grim institution. The grand building was abandoned in 1960 when new facilities were built down the hill, and for nearly a decade, the state considered tearing it down. A group of local women fought to save it, and while the state ultimately agreed not to demolish it, they also refused to maintain it. Vandals and weather took their toll, and much of the slate roof was stripped away by collectors, leaving the interior exposed to years of rain and decay. The building remained vacant until 2001, when the Preston Castle Foundation secured a 50-year lease to preserve and restore it. In 2014, the foundation was granted full ownership of the castle and 12 surrounding acres, with a mission to protect the site and the memory of the staff and boys who once lived there. Despite the decades of silence that followed its closure, Preston Castle never truly went dormant. The laughter, fear, and pain that once filled the halls seem to have lingered behind, along with some of the spirits of those who walked them. Over the years, Countless visitors have described strange occurrences inside Preston Castle. Sounds, shadows, and sensations that defy explanation. Many of these reports come from the former wards and staff who returned decades after the school closed, claiming that the building still feels alive, as though the energy of its troubled past never left. The most common activity happens on the upper floors, where dormitories once housed hundreds of boys. People walking through the narrow hallways often hear the sound of footsteps pacing beside them, or the creak of bed springs in rooms that have been empty for 60 years. Shadows move against the walls when no light source is nearby, and some investigators claim to have captured disembodied voices calling out names, sometimes the same name repeated over and over again, as if something is taking a roll call in a classroom that no longer exists. In the old infirmary, visitors have reported sudden drops in temperature and the distinct sound of metal clinking, like surgical instruments being moved. Paranormal teams often describe this area as one of the most oppressive parts of the building, with sensations of nausea and dizziness hitting without warning. The basement, though, is where the activity seems the strongest. This is where new wards were processed upon arrival and where punishments were carried out. People have reported heavy footsteps on the concrete floor, distant voices murmuring in the dark, and the sound of doors slamming even when all the doors are open. Some claim to have seen a large shadow figure that fills entire doorways, a presence so massive that it seems to blot out the light itself. Others have felt a sudden gust of cold air rush past them, as if something had just moved through the room. One story frequently told by tour guides involves a small storage room off the basement corridor. During a late-night investigation, a group of ghost hunters placed crayons on a table and asked any spirits present to move them. Minutes later, one of the crayons began to slowly roll on its own, followed by a spike on their EMF meters. The group backed away, but when they returned later, the crayons had been rearranged into a small circle on the floor. No one could explain it, and the footage became one of the most talked about moments in Preston Castle's paranormal history. Even outside the castle, the grounds have an eerie stillness. A small cemetery sits tucked away behind the property, where at least 18 boys are buried. Visitors walking there at dusk have reported hearing laughter, whispers, and the faint sound of marching feet on the gravel path. Locals say that on quiet nights, you can still hear the echo of a bugle, part of the military-style drills that once structured the boys' lives. Anna Corbin's story is at the center of Preston Castle's haunted reputation, and with good reason. It's one of the darkest chapters in the building's long history. Anna was born in 1898 near Americus, Kansas, the daughter of Wilbur and Etta Lawton. She grew up on a small farm, earned her education, and became a teacher before marrying Robert Corbin in 1918. The couple eventually moved to West California, where Robert found work at the Preston School of Industry in Ione. Anna joined him there, taking a job as the head housekeeper. By all accounts, she was well-liked, strict, but kind, a stabilizing presence in a place defined by punishment and reform. Many of the boys saw her as a mother figure, someone who brought a rare touch of humanity to an otherwise cold environment. That all changed on February 23, 1950. When Anna didn't report for work that morning, staff began searching the grounds. Her body was later found that day in the basement storeroom of the castle. She had been beaten to death, wrapped in a rug, and left hidden in the shadows of the old building. A cord was tied tightly around her neck. The brutality of the scene shocked both staff and townspeople. It was the kind of violence the reform school was supposed to prevent, not breed. Authorities soon arrested a 19-year-old inmate named Eugene Monroe, who was working in the building at the time. He was seen burning clothing in an incinerator shortly after the murder, and investigators claimed to have found bloodstains on his belt and shoes. Despite the evidence, Monroe was tried 3 times and never convicted. 2 hung juries and 1 final acquittal left the case unsolved. Anna's murder remains officially open to this day. In the years that followed, the story of Anna Corbin transformed from a true crime into something far stranger. Staff and visitors began reporting unexplained activity in the building. The faint sound of keys jingling when no one was around, and the distinct scent of perfume drifting through the basement where she died. Some have claimed to have seen a figure in period clothing moving between rooms, often near the old kitchen or the lower corridors where her body was found. Others have described the feeling of being watched or the sound of a woman's voice whispering just out of earshot. Paranormal investigators have long considered the basement the heart of the haunting. Equipment often malfunctions there, cameras shut off without reason, and temperature drops are sudden and extreme. Many believe Anna's spirit lingers, searching for justice that never came. Some mediums who have visited the site claim she doesn't realize she's gone, that she still tends to the building, pacing the halls she once managed, unable to leave the place where her life ended so violently. Over time, the legend of Anna Corbin has become inseparable from the identity of Preston Castle itself. Her name is whispered on every ghost tour, featured in nearly every investigation, and remembered in every retelling of the castle's past. Whether or not her spirit truly walks those halls, Anna Corbin remains the soul of Preston Castle, a woman who gave her care and compassion to a place that ultimately took her life.
What is going on, folks? And welcome into Hometown Ghost Stories, episode number 181. Back in California, covering Ione and the Preston Castle. I'm Jesse Wilkins. I'm joined by Rob Coakley. Hello, Rob.
The more stuff we do on the West Coast, the more we have to get out there and do some investigations for sure.
Absolutely. We're also joined by Dave Wilkins. Hello, Dave.
Hello. This one was a fun one to research because I found the location very intriguing. Really nice looking building.
Yeah, I've seen a few things, including a movie about it. It was, I don't remember the name of it, but it was really, really bad. So I would not recommend it, but it was not great. We are joined today by a special guest, an absolute honor. You might know her from, what is it, The Girls Next Door. She has her own podcast. And
Girls Next Level.
What was that?
Girls Next Level would be one of the podcasts. And then
the Ghost Bunny podcast as well.
Ghost Bunny podcast. Also a little cameo in Scary Movie 4. But without further ado, let's bring her on stage here. Ladies and gentlemen, Bridget Marquardt.
Hi, hello, guys.
Bridget. Welcome
I
in.
loved the video. That was so good. I think it was better than the actual movie.
The movie didn't set the bar high.
It did not. It did not. But welcome in. Welcome in. So you have been to Preston Castle. And,
I have. You know, it's one of those things that's kind of a legend for me because I grew up in Northern California. This castle is more like Central California, and that's kind of where I grew up. I grew up in a little town called Lodi, and this is in Ione, California, which is about 25 minutes from my parents' house. And I'd always heard about it. But it wasn't, back in the day, way back, there wasn't ghost hunting. There wasn't, paranormal investigations or anything like that going on. There was hardly even haunted tours, but I'd heard about this, and they sometimes did like things around Halloween, and I'd always wanted to go. And it wasn't until after I moved to LA that they started opening it up for tours and events and things like that. And I was like, oh, one of these days when I go back home, I need to go and do that. And I finally did a few years ago, and I'm so glad I did.
All right, well, let's get to the bottom of the question on everyone's mind. Is it Ione or Ione?
It's Ione.
Oh, no.
Dave.
Well, you know what? You guys found the original, like why it was named that way. And so maybe it was supposed to be Ione, but I don't know anyone that said Ione. They all say Ione.
Oh, yeah. I've seen it both ways. I've seen it because I looked it up. I was like, I'm not going to get this wrong. I'm going to get it right. And it said the most common way is Ione, but it's also Ione. It feels like a Raynham thing that's out here. We have, if you're from Raynham, they call it Raynham, but everybody else calls it Raynham. I don't know. So I do know that the literary character that it was named after is pronounced Ione. So,
well, that's what I was thinking too. Like maybe it was supposed to be that, but no one calls it that. But that's originally how it was, interpreted. But
well, now.
But it doesn't matter.
It
It doesn't
Well,
matter.
now we have to fire Dave from the show. So, Bridget, if you're looking for another show to co-host,
Cool. All right, I'm in.
Please.
But one of the things I want to say too, when you are driving, at least from the direction that I'm coming from, and there's like two different directions you could come into the town from. But when you're driving into Ione, like it's countryside, there's not a lot going on. It's beautiful, but it's countryside, it's cows, it's, just old railroad tracks and stuff like that. But then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you just see that castle on the hill like looming. And like the second I saw it for the first time, I was like, oh, it like takes your breath away. It's like, oh my God, there's no mistaking. There it is. And that's it.
Yeah, that's so much better than like a lot of these other haunted locations. Like I hate when they're like in the middle of a city or like in the middle of a town where it's like it's just a regular town and then there's the haunted building. It kind of like takes you out of it a little bit. I mean, whatever, it is what it is, and you can't change that in most cases. But if you think of this one where you're, like you said, you're rolling up through like rural and then you see the castle on the hill, that's what you want, right? Like,
Yeah.
You want it to be that kind of setting. It's tough. Like I think back to like the Houghton Mansion or the S.K. Pierce Mansion, and you're just like in these regular towns or cities, and then there it is. You're like, that kind of sucks. It's just on a side street with a bunch of like neighbors and stuff. Like it's not as creepy. But when it's all by itself, that's when it's real creepy. You think of like the Hinsdale House or the Conjuring House, which are like kind of in the middle of nowhere. Those are like creepy locations, and apparently Preston Castle as well. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And then when you take the little street that goes up to there's all these old houses. They belong to like the warden and like all the different people that worked at the castle and everything, but they are all abandoned as well. And some of them are incredible, like Tudor houses, like really cute. And there's just a ton of them all the way up this street that goes up to the castle. And then there's like the guard booth, the guard shack, and then the gates, and then you go in.
Yeah,
Very
it's
cool.
really an awesome looking building. And I found it kind of amusing the way they designed this building, right? Because it's essentially a prison for youth, but they didn't want it to look like a prison. They're like, we want it to look like a school. And then they built this thing that looks like no school I've ever seen.
Right? It looks like a prison to me. Like if you've seen like Mansfield Reformatory or things like that, it may not be the exact same architecture, but it's very similar style. Like it looks like a castle.
Yeah, which, I mean, it makes sense because it has to function like a prison. So I guess there's only so much you could do to make it not look like a prison, but it definitely doesn't look like a school.
Yes. And in Ione, it gets very, very hot. There's no heat or air conditioning in this building. And when you go there, like I went in like, I think March or April, I think it was March. It was so freezing inside there. And I'm sure that's relative. I mean, I'm from California my whole life. So maybe you guys are like, it wasn't that cold. I was so cold. Like I was shaking. I was wearing like a sweatshirt, a zip up hoodie and, pants, but I was freezing by the time we got done there. So they don't do any tours during the winter time typically because it's so cold inside the castle. But then in the summertime when they do the tours, it is so hot. It could be like, and think about when the boys were there too, and they would stuff them all. That one room that you showed that has the big, like kind of wood slatted ceiling, and it was like a giant room. They would stuff like, I forget the number of boys they said that they would stuff in there to sleep, but it was like 100 or something like that. And it's like over 100 degrees outside, and there's just a few little windows. It had to have been sweltering for them.
It must have been brutal because that room, I think, is like the top floor. Like,
yes.
Not the tower, but like it's like the attic level, basically, which would be, I mean, go into your own attic in your house. It's uninsulated in the summertime and it's going to be like 114 degrees. Can't imagine this place. It must have been.
Yes.
Brutal. In the first year it was in operation, they had no electricity for an entire year. So they had people staying there. There was no electricity. I mean, because electric lights hadn't been invented yet. Wasn't
right.
The choice they made, but that must have been even more brutal.
Well, they didn't know what they were missing out on yet.
Yeah.
But I will say too, when you were talking about the lice pools and like the chemical pools that they did, they have a pool. It's a big pool. Like it looks like a swimming pool, an indoor swimming pool. It's giant. And they would bring them in through the office, check them out, do their paperwork, and then they would throw them in that pool and make them get to the other side. And some of them didn't know how to swim, and they would like stick a stick out there and make them struggle to get through, but they weren't getting out of that pool till they made it to the other side. And it was to debug them.
It's horrible. And the reason they made this place, right, was because they were keeping basically children in San Quentin and in Folsom Prison. And they were like, this is inhumane. So we need something of course it was inhumane because they're keeping them with, grown felons and whatnot. So they had to make this other place, Preston Castle, and to keep the youth at, and it ends up being possibly just as bad, maybe worse.
Sounds worse from some of the reports that I was reading. Like these things are always built with good intentions, right? Like your psychiatric hospitals, it's like all this stuff is always built with good intentions. And then almost always what we see is they overcrowd them, understaff them, and they don't vet who's actually watching these people. So you get the mixture of all of that. And it just goes from something that's supposed to be good and rehabilitational and helping them acquire skills to absolute horror show for the people that are staying there.
And not only that, but these boys were there to work. It was a school of industry because there was industry going on there. So they worked the farmlands and they had like their own they were cobbling their own shoes. They were doing everything themselves.
Yeah. And being abused on top of all that, which is, it's terrible.
Right. I don't know, but to say it's worse than having them at Folsom or at San Quentin, I assume, these prisons aren't like 5-star hotels, I'm assuming the same abuse was happening over there. So now you take them out, at least they're taking them out of the prison with adult felons, right?
Yeah.
I would think so. I would think it would be more scary to be there with grown men who have murdered people and things like that than to be with boys your own age who maybe have done the same thing or at least or less, you're hoping. Like a lot of them, you were talking about like Merle Haggard was auto theft and things like that. And that's the other kind of fun fact about it, that there were some people that did get out and were went on to be successful.
Yeah, there's a whole long list. I included a few of them, but some of them went on to be famous actors and, like you said, Merle Haggard and whatnot. So yeah, there's a whole long list, authors and whatnot. So, I mean, I guess the rehab worked for some of them, at least, which is good. But it's not to gloss over the absolute brutal physical abuse that happened there. There were whippings, there were lashings, solitary confinement was used, which seems like a crazy thing to do to a kid with these dungeon-like rooms. And it's it's a prison, so it's like, but it's brutal to read about all of it. And there are some pretty serious cases there, like that one kid who tried to escape and they shot him. I just feel like if it's a kid trying to escape, I get if it's like if you have a prison and you're a prison guard and you're in the sniper tower and you get like a murderer trying to escape, maybe then. But like you have a kid who's in jail for burglary, like just go get him. Chase him.
It seems I don't know. A lot of stairs to go down for that guy, I guess. I don't know. That's I agree with you there, Dave.
And he only had 2 months left on his sentence too, which is like the other crazy part about that is he was going to be released in 2 months. So A, why are you trying to escape?
Yeah, exactly.
But B, why are we shooting at the kid? I guess he escaped a lot, and I guess were they just frustrated by it? And they're like, well, I guess the gun's the only way to do this. And it's an insane reaction to that.
I mean, if a kid is escaping your prison, it's more on you than on the kid, right? I feel like if you're not good enough that a kid can escape, fix yourself.
Well,
it's also a very kind of rural area. There is a town, the town of Ione and everything, but it's a pretty rural area around there. And they would put bounties out for people that escaped and let the townspeople also like get a reward for returning them.
That's interesting. I haven't heard about that before. That's a whole different wrinkle to the situation.
That's what they told me when I was there anyway.
Well, I'm just saying in general, have you ever heard them being like, we'll just put a bounty out for the town and the town will collect all the delinquents?
Yeah, I mean, that's one way to do it. You pay once, you pay a bounty one time rather than like keeping somebody on a retainer and paying them around the clock. I don't know. Kind of makes economic sense a little bit, I guess.
There was another thing that they told me while there that I thought was really interesting is that room where they would house all those boys, so they would go to bed at night, they weren't allowed to speak. It was it was silence only.
Yeah. Sounds very military. Right.
Yeah.
Like
That's also how I put my kids to bed. I'm like, you get up there and shut up. No talking.
Yeah, but not at the threat of shooting them, I guess.
Speak
Yeah,
for
you also
yourself.
didn't bathe them in a pool of lie.
You guys, you live in a pool of lies, all right? Don't come at me for the way I parent.
I have an article here about the inmate that was shot trying to escape. So it was Samuel Goins, an inmate of Preston School, was fatally shot by guard J.E. Kelly last Saturday. Goins escaped from the school the day before, and the guards found him at the Thornton Ranch. He threatened to kill anyone who attempted to take him. Kelly, failing to halt him by command, fired to hit him in the leg, but just as he pressed the trigger, Goins stooped to go under a wire fence, and the bullet struck him in the back. So it wasn't an intentional kill shot, and he was threatening to kill them. So still,
And that was just last Saturday.
yeah, well, at the time the article was written. It was a 1919 article.
Ah.
But yeah, still brutal. And he's one of the ghosts that are alleged to haunt this Preston Castle. Bridget, did you have any paranormal experiences when you were there? Did anything happen?
I didn't have a paranormal experience while I was there, but I mean, that doesn't mean it's not haunted. You definitely just feel the vibe when you're there. Like you feel like there's something going on. I was there recording my podcast and also filming with the local news station about Preston Castle. They also do a big Halloween event. So they take part of the castle and make it in through a walking, Halloween haunted house type thing, which is fun. But they do all that kind of stuff to raise money for the castle because it is in very bad repair. Like there are areas where you look on the third floor and you can see straight down to the ground floor. There's nothing left of it. It's just the shell of the castle standing up. You showed pictures from the inside. So there are parts where there are still some of the living quarters and everything, which are fascinating to see. And the infirmary is still there and a lot of it's still there, but some of it is just a shell of the castle. And they are trying to raise funds to, and you also said that the state just said, we don't want anything to do with it. They were going to tear it down, but they were like, we don't want anything to do with it. You guys can have it, but you guys are responsible for it. And it's going to take millions of dollars to repair and get that back into condition that it needs to be in. So a lot of it is off limits and you can see why, like you couldn't step in there even if you wanted to. So they do a lot of fundraising things there. They do like wine festivals and the haunted house every year, and people get married there. There's weddings that happen there and other events like that to raise money to help restore it.
Sounds a lot like Penhurst. Penhurst is doing a lot of the same kind of stuff where they host weddings and they have big events there and stuff. So if you're in the area in California, make sure you swing by, support those events, and help to restore the building because we want to save places like that. Sorry, Dave, you were attempting to say something?
I was going to say it's almost like a catch-22, right? Because you have to have so much money to be able to refurbish the place, but then what's your return on that investment there, right? Especially if it's something that's so expensive for a building like that to fix, who's gonna? So it's basically all donation based, basically.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely donation based, and doing these fundraisers or allowing the weddings. They also charge for photography, like you can go in and do photo shoots or, like architectural photography and stuff like that. So they charge for those kinds of things to raise money as well.
And I think they let people come investigate. Right?
Yes.
As well.
Yes.
So you can also spend money, and we actually don't mind when we can spend money on a place like this to go investigate to help restore it, right? Like we're not looking to go do it for free. We're like, let us pay you your rate so that we can help restore this place so that we're not one of the last to investigate it and that other people can come experience this place as well. And I was saying earlier, I think when we do our West Coast trip, this is sort of bumped up to the top-ish of my list. We can get rid of the Clown Motel because nobody wants us to go there.
You're not allowed to get rid of that.
We are allowed to get rid of that. Bridget, tell them that we're not doing a Clown Motel.
Well, the Mitzvah Hotel that's right down the street from it is way cooler, I think.
See?
Yeah, but I mean, if we're going to do one, we got to do them both, right? They're right there.
Well, they're like not even 5 minutes, 5 seconds from each other. It's a small town.
Have you spent the night in the Clown Motel?
I didn't spend the night at the Clown Motel, but I stayed at the Mitzvah, and then we went over to the Clown Motel, and then attached to the Clown Motel is a whole cemetery. You guys are aware of that, right? The cemetery.
Yeah, we covered it in the show.
And and then the owner though was so cool at the Clown Motel. I asked him if he would do my podcast. He said he would, but then he also just gave me the keys to every room, told me which rooms were like taken, and let me just go and explore the entire place.
Oh, that's cool.
That is pretty cool.
And each room is themed differently, clown style.
Yeah.
Sounds
It's a dream come true for Rob.
It's a wild place. But
Wait, what else is on your West Coast list?
so many things.
Go to locations.
to-
We got to get to Tombstone.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, Winchester.
Hmm.
Rob's been there, but doing an actual investigation there would be pretty cool. There's so many. Like
Queen Mary, like
Yeah, I was gonna say the Queen Mary has to be on there.
we got to get it. We're doing Europe first, but
Yes.
yeah,
On the west
was it the Whaley House in San Diego?
San Diego.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Mhm.
Lots and lots to do on the West Coast for
You guys are
sure.
gonna be busy.
Yeah.
We are.
Yeah, we'll probably have to narrow that list down a little bit, but
You have to tell me when you're here. Maybe I can go to one of them with you.
yeah, sure.
absolutely.
But,
Somebody popped up and said Alcatraz. You know what? Like Alcatraz is amazing, and it's definitely worth going there. But getting to investigate there, well, if you guys get to investigate there, you better let me know. I don't know anybody that's gotten to investigate.
For sure.
I mean, they
Yeah.
might have let Ghost Adventures or something like that there, but I don't know anybody like regular ghost hunters that have ever been able to investigate there.
That seems like a tough one to lock down solo since they're constantly doing tours over there. That's the tricky part.
Yeah.
But not overnight, they're not. But it's I think it's run by like the state, I think, or something like that. So that's where it gets tricky. I could be wrong on that, but I think it is.
Kate asked in chat, she says, Bridget, what has been your most favorite place that you have investigated so far?
Ooh, it's tough, but I would probably say, I mean, the place that was the most active and I had the most activity was the Myrtles Plantation in St.
Louisiana.
Francisville, Louisiana.
Yeah, that place is pretty cool. I heard they were going to stop doing investigations there,
No,
which sucks.
I didn't do
not.
like a investigation that was like with a group or anything like that. I just rented a room, and the room that I rented has the staircase that's haunted and the front entryway that's haunted with the mirror and everything in it. All of that was just mine. Like nobody else was allowed after the tours were over. Nobody else was allowed into that area. And I was first of all, I had been wanting to go there forever. And I finally did it. This was about 7 years ago. And I was so excited to investigate. I had read everything I could read about this place, watched everything I could possibly watch about it. Felt like I knew everything. And we got there, and my husband, wasn't really into paranormal and but he's a good sport, was like, what do I do with this K2 meter, like around the mirror and things like that? And I was sitting on the 17th step where a man died, and supposedly you hear like footsteps going up to the 17th step and they stop. And I was sitting there trying to do an EVP session, and nothing was happening at all. Like it felt like all of the equipment just wasn't even working. Like I was checking to make sure it was even on or the batteries were working. So finally around 1:30, I was like, nothing's happening. It's so disappointing. And I know that you can't expect things to happen just because you're there one night, even the most haunted place. But I was so bummed. And we went to bed. And then at 3 a.m, we were awakened in our room. We heard like a noise in our room. And we sat up, and my K2 meter was just lighting up to red and like going back and forth from red to green, red to green. And he's like, your K2 meter's making noise. And I was like, it doesn't make noise. Something else made that noise. And then we heard boom, 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 boom up to the 17th
really?
step. And then we heard like what sounded like kids laughing and moving furniture above us. And we were on the top floor. It just was insane for like a full hour
Oh, wow.
of craziness. And he was like grabbing me going, did you just hear that? I'm like, yeah, did you just hear that? And it was just so scary. And then at like 4 something, it just stopped. And you felt the difference in the room. You felt like when it was happening, you felt like so much heaviness and pressure and like almost like you're afraid to look anywhere. And then at 4 something, it just stopped. And all of a sudden you just felt everything lighten up and all the noises stopped. And it was just, you could just tell, you could just feel it was over.
That's crazy.
That's wild.
Yeah. So that 17th step, I remember this because we covered it. We didn't go there, but we covered the location, and that's a pretty scary haunting. Because correct me if I'm wrong, it was a guy who got shot on the front porch, and then ran inside up and then died on the 17th step.
Yes. Yeah. So somebody knocked at the door, came up on a horse, knocked on the door. He answered the door. They shot him right in the chest. He went up to the 17th story and died in his wife's arms right there.
Yeah.
And I heard the boot steps on the stairs more than once while I was there. It's distinct. And there was nobody there. Like, I ran to the door and opened it. Nobody.
Yeah. Yeah. That's frightening.
You missed a great opportunity, though, Bridget. In the middle of this insane situation, your husband, who's not as into it as you should just looked at him and said, I summoned all this, and then just rolled over and went back to bed and just left him there. And
I should have, but honestly, I was scared too. Like, it was the scariest, and I don't usually get scared at any of this, but this was the scariest, maybe because I was woken up in the middle of the night and I was kind of caught off guard. I also had a horrible migraine, which, looking back on it, I feel like was maybe part of the haunting. I don't know for sure, but I do get migraines and I have medication for it, but I took the medicine and it didn't help. And that's so weird that it usually kicks in within like 20 minutes and I'm fine, but I had to take 2 of them and it did not help. And I feel like it was part of it.
Could have been. I've heard things like that in the at different locations before.
You can't rule it out. Even if a couple of weeks ago we covered, we went to the Villiscax murder house, and Rob, while you were standing in that closet, you had said over and over again that you started to feel sick. So
yeah,
I think that's something that it's hard to debunk that for sure. So not much you could say about that. Also, just like the overwhelming, you hear this all the time, that people feel the overwhelming feeling of sadness or feelings like they're being watched. There's no way to tell, there's no way to say like, oh, well, they're lying about that. How do you know? So, but it usually starts to happen right before some sort of paranormal activity starts to kick in or during. So definitely can't rule it out.
Yeah.
But back to Preston Castle, the main ghost that haunts this place is not a prisoner there. It was the ghost of poor Anna Corbin, who works there. And her story is crazy. Like, it's not only the fact that she was murdered, which is horrible, but the subsequent trial that happened of the kid that they think did it, who it really looks like he did do it. And they just tried him over and over again, and he kept.
I don't think it does look like he did it. Like, I feel like if they actually had that hard evidence on him, then they would have gotten the guilty verdict. Like, if it sounds like they had shoddy evidence and they were just trying to pin it on anybody, and they found a kid and they're like, oh, it's probably him. He was burning clothes or something like that. But kids do weird shit.
But what about the fact that when he got out, he left and then did the exact same thing to somebody else and was convicted of it?
Oh. Maybe he was a copycat killer.
Yeah. So it was Eugene Monroe. He was 19.
Wait, did you mention that in the episode? Because you just blindsided me with that fact.
I didn't talk about the trial in the episode. I just talked about that she was, she was killed and she's a ghost. It's there. So I have some of the case details here. It's an interesting case, as horrible as it is. So it was February 23rd, 1950. They found her body in the basement of the Preston School. And according to many sources, her office was adjacent to the storeroom, and that's one of the rooms that she haunts now. But when they found her, they first found a trail of blood that went from her office door jamb into the storeroom, which was locked with a padlock, and then it had been forced open. And she had been strangled with a hemp cord, and she suffered a skull fracture from striking the concrete floor. And the body was covered by a pile of carpeting, mop buckets overturned, rugs stained with blood, and an overturned ladder that were all just kind of piled on top of her. And it happened between 9 and 10 a.m. And they found her keys on the desk along with a vase of acacia blossoms without water, which they said was a very strange thing to find. Because
drank the water?
I don't know.
A strange detail.
Yeah, I don't know why they included that detail, but they said it was weird.
After all that murder, he was feeling quite parched.
Yep. Their suspect was a 19-year-old inmate named Eugene Monroe, and they searched 657 different wards at the institution for blood stains, and Monroe had blood stains on his shoes and on his belt, but he claimed that it was from a previous cut at the shoe shop that he worked at. And he also got caught trying to burn some of his clothes in an incinerator, which was suspicious. And then he took a lie detector test, and it was believed that his statements were untruthful compared to data from other inmates. So take that with a grain of salt, because I think polygraph tests are largely considered pseudoscience now, but back at the time, I feel like there was a lot of evidence that pointed towards this kid, including an eyewitness testimony from one of the kids who was with him allegedly during the event. So I don't think that's nothing. I think that's a lot.
No, I thought he was guilty the whole time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, I actually didn't kind of think after they told me the story when I was there, and I don't remember, sorry, if they had other details when they told it to me or not, but I got the feeling that he was not guilty, and I got the feeling that they kind of felt like he wasn't guilty, and that it might have been more of a race thing that was being thrown in there.
Well, if it was the race thing back in 1919 or whenever this was, they would have convicted him, right?
1950. This was
it
1950.
Was it 1915? Yeah.
1950.
Yeah, 1950. Sorry, yes. But yeah,
Practically the same year. It's fine.
So he did this after. So he did this after he got off.
But yeah, that's the part I want to hear about.
Okay, so he was tried in April of 1950, and the jury couldn't reach a verdict. Then they tried him again, and it was another hung jury, which was 11 wanted to convict and 1 wanted to acquit. So that's still a hung jury. You need all 12. Mm-hmm. And then again in October the same year, they even moved it to Sacramento, and it was a jury of 4 women and 8 men, and they acquitted him after 2 hours of deliberation. So after the acquittal, the murder went cold. But then, despite the acquittal, some researchers, he went on to commit other violent crimes, and he murdered Dorothy Waldrop in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And so it raised questions about Anna's case. But what's weird about the Dorothy Waldrop case is he was found guilty of that. And he had killed her the same way. He strangled her and banged her head off the floor, and the same MO and everything. And he was convicted of this, but he didn't serve any time for it. It was weird.
That is weird.
Did he have the same lawyer all along? Because this lawyer...
Who is this lawyer?
Ron Meshbesher, of course.
It's gotta be. But yeah, so it's a weird case, because they acquitted him so many times, or there was a hung jury so many times, and there was an eventual acquittal, and then he went out to do the exact same type of murder again and didn't do any time for it, which is
was
weird.
That lawyer Ron Mesh? That was a callback from like 100 episodes ago. I haven't made that joke in a long time. Was it Ron Meshbesher? That sounds about right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the Newport, Rhode Island guy, right?
No, this one was I believe Canada. Minnesota.
Okay.
Too many episodes, perhaps. Perhaps too many.
No.
I didn't know he went on to do, or like that he possibly murdered somebody else. So that changes my mind about how guilty he was on this or not.
Yeah,
especially with the similarities between the crimes, and it's like, oh, yeah, he was guilty all along.
It doesn't.
I'm going to dive more into this, because how do you get found guilty and then they're like, but just go live your life, go get some McDonald's,
just don't do it a third time.
Yeah, I know. Promise you're going to stop.
Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you. But if you fool me a third time, the shame is back on me again. That's how the old saying goes.
Yeah, but that was a ridiculous case either way. But her murder went unsolved, which is unfortunate, because she seemed like a nice enough lady. They said that she was kind of like a mother figure. They said she was strict, but she wasn't abusive. And she was pretty much well respected and well liked there, considering everybody else was abusive. So sad story there. But she supposedly haunts that area in the basement, the storage room where she was found, as well as her office that was adjacent to that storage room. And people say they see apparitions of her. They hear the jingling of the keys, and they can smell her perfume in that area. Creepy.
Mm. Yeah, I think she could definitely be haunting the place. Do they know? Is it just a random smell of perfume? Do they give more details on that, or do they know what kind of perfume she wore at the time?
No, I don't know about any of that. It just happens to be one of those phantom perfume smells that are pretty common in hauntings.
Yeah, it's either perfume for the ladies or cigar smoke for the guys, right?
Mm-hmm. That seems to be the
town too, because another place that I found that we'll talk about in a few minutes, they have phantom smells that pop up in their place as well.
Mm-hmm. Colleen points out the key jingling is a pretty creepy haunting to hear for sure. Not something you want to hear.
Yeah. There's some interesting photos they have too that people have taken while they're there. There was this one photo, and it's right by where the pool is, and there's windows where you can see into the pool. And there is this, and it's hard to explain, and it's going to just sound weird, but it is weird. There is a picture of people standing in a circle listening to the tour guide, and then you see this, what looks like somebody horizontal in the air, like going through the window.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty concerning.
That's
like
so weird.
legs and stuff,
I'm gonna have to look that one up.
which is weird. And then there was a photo from one of the Halloween events where people were taking a picture with the castle behind them, and you see this like woman standing in their picture, but that's not really in their picture.
Oh, you got a
It's
similar
kind
one
of
actually similar to the one at Myrtle's Plantation. There was another picture like that. Actually, there's a couple pictures like that where somebody was like in the picture too. They couldn't explain. Super creepy.
And then there was something in one of the windows above in the tower part, but you can't physically stand in those windows up there because there's no floor.
Oh, that's huge. Yeah. So
So
anything
they have
you catch
some
in those
interesting.
windows. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
wild.
Well, those are terrifying. I want to know more about this crayon haunting, Dave. There was
Yeah,
crayons.
that was apparent. I found that in Reddit. There was a paranormal investigator group that had visited there, and they posted this story in a Reddit group for Preston Castle hauntings. And they had, this is according to them, they had crayons on it. I don't know why they had crayons on the table. Maybe there were crayons there that they found, or maybe this is one of their methods of investigating. I don't know that detail, but they basically
Pretty common object that people will leave for the ghosts of children. So you see that
That's a
all
good point.
stuffed animals, crayons, all sorts of coloring books and stuff.
Right, because they're young kids ghosts sometimes, so that makes sense. Also, I was thinking more in lines of it could be like a marble type trick. If you don't have a marble, you could use a crayon and see if it rolls or whatever. Wow, to either see if it's a ghost or if the floor is uneven. But they had them arranged on a table, and while they were watching them, one of the crayons just started rolling, which is weird. It's weird if it starts rolling, right? And then even weirder later on, they left and then they came back and they found them that they had been arranged in a circle on the floor.
That's a scary one.
Yeah.
A little similar to the Sally house with the stuffed animals ending up in a circle. Would you
True.
like to sit in that circle, Dave?
I'll pass.
All right.
If
Yeah.
anyone hasn't seen that, go back and watch our Sally House investigation video, which is still one of our creepier ones where we didn't even catch everything. Our chat had to catch some of the stuff on that episode, which the thing that the chat saw that we didn't see after watching 30 times, Bridget, I don't know if we talked about this on your show. I don't know if we had aired it yet, but we were in the room with all the stuffed animals. And while we were sitting there, one of the stuffed animals just sits up like the Undertaker. It was, and we didn't catch it until our chat caught it. When we aired
Wow.
the episode,
So
yeah.
we had edited down the footage, edited the video, released the video, debuted the video, and then there was a good old YouTube commenter named Banana Ketchup who noticed, so I was sitting on the bed and I wasn't moving, but you see one of these stuffed animals that just sits up, which is
Yeah.
not natural. There's no explanation
No.
for that. Yeah,
Just
so we clipped it, zoomed in, played it back. We're like, dude, first of all, that's crazy. Second of all, how did we miss this? Like, we didn't even catch it with hours and hours and hours of editing the footage. But super creepy, super creepy. We'll send you a link.
Well, it's hard to catch stuff like that. And sometimes too, when you're recording, like I'll get people that message me and be like, oh my God, at 21:28, there's a whisper in the background, or, things like that. And I didn't hear them before.
It's such a useful resource to have just thousands of eyes going over your video footage for you, right?
Definitely.
It's you can only catch so much. We're only three pairs of eyes, but yeah, it's definitely useful.
There's also a picture I took in front of the Winchester house, and I didn't think anything of it. And I posted it, and people were commenting that there looks like there's somebody in the window upstairs. And I was there kind of close to Halloween time because they were getting ready to launch their new interactive thing that they were doing for like Halloween, like a walkthrough type thing. And I was like, oh, they probably have like a mannequin or something in there for the haunt. So I sent them the picture and I asked them about it, and they're like, no, there's nothing in that room. So I don't know if it's a reflection in the window from something across the street or what, but there does look like there's somebody standing in the window staring down.
That's creepy.
Yeah, we caught something. We did a live ghost hunt on Block Island last Halloween season, and that's in Rhode Island, or off the coast of Rhode Island, anyways. And we had done a live investigation at the new Shoreham Hotel, and we had all left the building. Like the whole group was gone, and we all knew we were gone. And someone snapped a picture of the building as we were leaving, and very clearly in one of the windows, there's half of a silhouette of a person, but you could see the shoulders and heads. And then in the bottom half, there wasn't anything because you could see through the railings and see the bottom half of the window. So if it was an actual human standing in that window, you would have seen the whole body.
Yeah.
Everybody had already left the building, and this was taken from somebody that was on our, ghost investigation. And yeah, we aired that on the show too. It was super, super cool, super eerie picture because it was only half of a person. So yeah, you get some weird stuff in windows, that's for sure.
But it's so exciting when you get something like that. Makes it all worth it.
Yeah, especially when it's not, coming from us, when it's coming from the people that were there for the experience as well. So it's pretty cool.
That was our first group investigation that we ever led to. So before we even started, we're like, we hope somebody gets something here because you know how it is. You don't always get, not every time you go somewhere you get stuff. So we were getting stuff in the house, and then we got that. We're like scared, but we're also relieved because we're like, oh, thank God there was a paranormal experience.
Yes.
Well, not only that, I mean, the whole night was super active anyways. And thank God. I mean, we've done several of these now. We've done one where there wasn't much, but we also had at the library or whatever. We didn't really talk about this on the show, but we did one where we basically had 1 hour to do a whole ghost tour with a group of people. And after explaining the equipment and the history of the building and stuff, we looked at the clock.
20 minutes left.
All right, we got 22 minutes. Let's go find a ghost. We're not going to find anything, but we got some enough that it's always such a gamble because you're like, listen, when we do this, we're there sometimes for 12 hours, 14 hours. So we're there all night. What you get in the edited version of our ghost investigations is a 30 to 45 minute highlight reel of all the good stuff. We're cutting out all the nonsense, which who knows what we've missed and all that as well, because we can't even catch stuff when we're cutting up the highlights. But either way.
And even then, I talk on my podcast all the time how you can't, even if it's the most haunted place in the world, you can't just go there for one night and expect that something's going to happen. They don't perform on demand. Right. And even if it's super haunted, you may not have an experience. Sometimes you have to be somewhere for weeks.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. You could be there on the wrong night. You could be using the wrong set of equipment. You could be taking the wrong approach. You just don't know.
Mm-hmm. It drives me crazy when I watch a video and someone will have gone somewhere and they were there for a night and they're like, yeah, I went there. Nothing happened. It's not haunted. It's based on one night, my grandparents' house was haunted. We went months without any activity.
Yes.
Sometimes. So you never know. It's just to be so dismissive, just it angers me.
Yeah, especially people that don't even do an actual ghost hunt. They're like, yeah, I went there for a tour. Didn't see
those
any
are
ghosts.
The worst. Yeah. I was there for 45 minutes on a tour. We didn't get anything.
Yeah. And I see that on reviews too a lot. I love to stay at haunted hotels and things like that, and I'll look at it and I'll look up I'll specifically put in haunted in the search box to see what comments have commented on that. People be like, people say this is haunted. It's not. I stayed there 2 nights. It wasn't haunted. Nothing happened. And I'm like, what?
Yeah. Well, we're glad that you're so brave, and
it's not like you bought a ticket to a haunted house to go through on a Halloween haunted house thing. Yeah. And nobody happened to be working that night. Yeah. That's pretty much what these reviews oh yeah, I went there, but nobody was there to scare me.
Yeah.
That's not what these places are.
Wouldn't that be a funny scam? Just
that would be hilarious.
To a haunted house and be like, sorry, it's just you can't tell when the ghosts are going to show up.
Yeah, it's not haunted every time.
Wouldn't that be so relieving? A little bit though. You go through, you're like, oh, okay. No, I'm good.
No,
they forgot about me.
No, because I just spend money
maybe I'm the ghost.
A whole different experience. Before we end the show, do you guys want to hear about one more haunted place in Ione?
Yes.
I would like to hear about one more haunted place in Ione.
Or Ione, whichever you want to call it. I'll go with the person that's been there's pronunciation, Dave. So let's talk about the Ione Hotel, which is in the town as well. And I have a list of names that it used to be called. It was the Metropolitan, the Union Hotel, the Haller Hotel, the Golden Star Hotel, and my personal favorite, it used to be called the Bedbug Inn.
I was just about to ask that because I was like, all right, it used to be called the Bedbug. That's what you don't call a hotel or an inn.
Well, the town used to be called Bedbug.
I know, that's
so crazy. Yeah.
Of course. Imagine if I was like, well, I wonder if they call it the Lice Hotel, the Lice Hair Salon.
Well, I didn't know if you'd also looked into this hotel. So
No.
well,
Yeah.
the reason they called it that isn't that interesting because it was like one of those gold mine towns that kind of pop up, and people would just this town you were going to go to one of these like places you rent a tent basically, and you're sleeping on the ground. And this town was so well known for all of their tents just being infested with bed bugs. They actually called the town
Ew.
Bedbug.
Crazy.
Okay, a nickname is fine, but if you're like in charge of things, that's not what you want to name your town.
I don't care if it has 5 stars. I am never booking a room at the Bedbug Inn.
Imagine.
It's not happening. It's just a 0% chance.
Yeah, like if I own a bar, I'm not going to be like, the stabbing. I guess that's about it. We'll work on that joke. We'll come back to it later.
The no whiskey bar.
Yeah, the DUI. All right, well,
The dry saloon.
Yeah, I was thinking the dry something.
There you go.
yeah, but there's just a big sign out front. Just welcome to We Ran Out of Beer.
Yeah. I'll take that over the Bedbug though.
Yeah.
At least I can get a water
No,
there.
you won't. No,
I
you
do
won't.
know about the Ione Hotel, and I've looked into staying there possibly, but my parents live so close. I'm like, why would I stay here? But for the haunted reasons.
Right.
Yeah, I can tell you why you might want to stay here. So
Yes.
first of all, this place has an absolutely wild history. Just the town itself, they suffered quite a few floods in the late 1800s in this town. There was 2 in like the 1890s, I believe. But then in 1900, there was a first fire that took out this hotel. And then in 1909, the rebuilt hotel got taken out by a fire. And then over the years, it started going over those different names and everything. And then it was kind of abandoned for a little bit. And then in the 1980s, they were rebuilding it, these people. And the people that had rebuilt it, they just closed a deal to sell the place. They had 1 room. They had rebuilt everything. They had everything looking great. And in 1988, there was another fire at this place. And then it stood basically vacant and just decaying for 10 years before more people bought it and have been revitalizing it. There are a lot of ghost stories with this place. A lot of the history is really shaky on it. You get a lot of the old mining town ghost stories with, the prostitute that died there, but there's no record at all of that. There's a well that they found in there that people say that a baby was thrown down the well. There's no record of that. But what we do have is George Williams, who actually lived in the hotel, I believe in the 1970s. Not only did he live in the hotel, he also died in the hotel. At the time, it was room 4 that he lived in. But the hotel's been under so many renovations, they're not exactly sure which room was his now. They've narrowed it down. They think it's room 12 or room 13 that is now the room that George was in. And he was, by all accounts, a guy that liked to drink, speaking of bars. So
You would have hated dry saloon.
he would not like the dry saloon. So room 13 is said to be haunted by a drunken ghost named George, who pulls the covers from the bed and tells startled guests, "You cannot sleep here." He tends to prefer women over men and has been known to pour phantom pitchers of water over male guests' heads before leaving the room.
Wow.
I was just gonna say drunk ghost sounds hilarious and fun, but yeah, it actually doesn't sound like that much fun. Rips your covers off, tells you to leave, and then dumps ice water on your head. That doesn't sound like fun.
You muted, Jesse.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, especially if you're sober, because isn't that the worst when you're sober dealing with drunk people? Imagine just trying to have like a good night's sleep and you got to deal with not just a drunk person but a drunk ghost. Sounds awful. Sorry, Bridget, go ahead.
No, it was one of the places that I read the reviews on when I was looking into staying there, and somebody was like, "It's great if you like listening to a biker bar downstairs till midnight, and that's all you hear." And people complain about the loud biker bar downstairs.
Oh my god, you probably just have to listen to Motley Crue on repeat the whole time until 12:30. Which, nothing wrong with Motley Crue. You just don't want to hear the same song over and over.
I don't know if that's as bad as when we were in Kennebunkport and we had a hockey or ice skating rink right outside the hotel room, just squealing children at 6 a.m.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's worse. That's worse.
Yeah, Bridget, we stayed at the haunted Kennebunkport Inn, which has a really cool history and ghost story attached to it. But if you ever go there, don't go there in the winter because there is literally an ice rink right outside. And at 6 a.m., they start playing the 90s like all-star music mix, and you just hear people getting thrown into the boards the whole time. It was It was not great.
Last thing
I'm a
listen
night
to
owl.
Smash Mouth and hear kids screaming.
I'm a night owl. I'm not an early morning person, so that would definitely not be my spot.
Same.
Well, that is Ione. I don't have any reviews to read this week, Jesse.
Sorry, we'll hop into it. I do have that pulled up, but once again, go follow Bridget. You can subscribe to her podcast, the Ghost Bunny Podcast. Again, check out you had actually such a long resume. I had Grok just plug up a resume for you, and then it was like so long. I was like, I actually don't know which one to mention, but yeah.
Well, definitely the Ghost Bunny. What else? Is there anything else
you were on Curb Your Enthusiasm?
Yes.
That's awesome. That's
it was
cool.
so fun.
That's fun.
Entourage.
Yeah, Entourage is the other one I was going to mention because I absolutely love that show. Speaking of which, and we'll end the show, but have you ever done anything at the Roosevelt Hotel? I know like a full season.
Yes, and in fact, I'm going to go stay there in a couple of weeks. I'm so excited.
Oh,
that's fun.
Just a staycation. I have a friend coming in town. They're staying there. I'm going to go stay too, just for fun.
Yeah, back in my DJing days, I DJ'd at like on the rooftop, like presidential suite.
Yes.
Yeah,
Somebody put the link to Girls Next Level on here. That's so sweet. And Ghost Bunny. That's so sweet.
There it is.
But yes, the rooftop. I'm glad you know about that. Yeah, there's a whole rooftop. It has the sign up there, and they have parties and events up there, which is really fun.
And more importantly, it's supposed to be haunted by none other than Marilyn Monroe and many other ghosts. It's supposed to be a very haunted hotel too. Mm-hmm. So lots of fun. But yeah, go check out anything interesting coming up. I know we just passed spooky season, but like we like to say it's always spooky season here on our
It is always spooky season.
Anything big planned on the show coming up?
No, just more of the same. I recorded my Christmas episode today with a Krampus expert.
Oh, expert. I'm so happy those exist.
Yes.
Oh, I'm definitely listening to that one.
I know my next career move. I'm going to become
also
a Krampus
super
expert.
jealous that you already have your Christmas episodes done. I finished this episode like 3 hours ago.
Yeah, that's fun stuff. Anyways, you're welcome to hang out or whatever. We're going to go through our Patreons real quick. And by real quick, I mean, it's entertaining. We'll see what people come up with. So for the VIPs, we have Wyatt F, Donnie N. I'm back after working a month of Spooky Tuesday. Jennifer A. The blackest night falls from the skies. The darkness grows as all light dies. We crave your heart and your demise.
Yeah.
By my backhand. How is this one name? Like this is one name. There's no.
That's a name.
That's one name.
Yeah. It's all one name. Yeah. So people they customize their Patreon names to try to kill me. I think. KCW. We have I am still here, guys. I will be back soon. Just dealing with life. Brandina 77. Hope everything's okay. We have Kathy F. Ghost Nurse JP. Another Vice. I am Jesse Wilkins. Tess. I don't speak bird, but I do be flapping. Kate and Steve M. Glitter Tees Cameron from Washington. Kelly C. Liz Young. Chris C. LBPS founder. Inspires Gaming. Allison V. Robert H. Janine. Raven Lunatic. Mom and Pops W. Father Squatch the Elder. Lisa J. And Das Oubliette. That's a throwback. Next up, we have the Warrens Wards. Kick that off with the one and only Nikki. We have Linda F. Happy All Hallows from the UK. Robin W, Crystal V, Colleen D, Joe and the Dogs, Freya and Frank, Mothman gathers ghouls for ghostly shoveling service, Masshole Medic, Susan C, Degenerate Gambler, Voodoo Ghost who shouldn't have hit on 19, T-Cat Whisper. Rob's belly button is the best glory hole, no lint, 10 out of 10. We don't need any context there. It's fine. You understand, Bridget. It's just Rob's belly button. It moves around. Nobody knows what's wrong with it. Yeah,
it's probably haunted.
It's fine. My belly button's normal.
Just has ghosts in it. No length, though. Anyways, Jeremy M., we have cheese pants versus salami pockets. Whoever wins, we lose. Thanks. Beth C., Sarah B., Her Lady Spookship, Victim of Ohio, Morgan S., Colby Always Remembers, Kath Q., the other Rachel B., Resting Witch Face, Marfire, Lily, Ironhead, Anthony T. What is an ironhead? Anyways, we'll move on. Rob's Belly Button creates sandpaper. See? They're catching on. Dang it, Dave, you need to get the important name correct at least.
Wow.
I'm standing by. I think I got it correct.
Ghost, Ghouls, Ghost, Ghostbusters, Ghost, Ghosties, Ghost Rob, Seth on guitar, and Dave doesn't know where Tennessee is, but physics, no problem. And finally, we'll hop into the Ghost Pirate Mafia. I'll kick that off with the Luna Joker 07, Lil Cat 02, Damian Blue, Jet L, Rachel P, Jody L, 8675309. Damn. That's now in everyone's head as well. That's all I have to do. I didn't even fully sing it. I didn't even belt. Chicky Ticky 67, Tez F, FM Cop. I do not like this rock. Robert is pissing me off. Wait, hang on. I do not like this rock. Robert, it's pissing me off. Okay.
That's a Marcus the Worm quote.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right. Got it. Amok. Cammy and Steve R. Shag 2 to Bone 33. TV. Just television.
Just television?
Yep.
Right.
GS Warrior, Cult of the Miscellany, GOB, Grim B, D Loves Ketchup on Eggs, Just Ghostly, Witchy Kitty 416, Karen L. I promise we'll be done soon. Michael M, Amber R, Brant C, Shane O'Mac, Joe, Christina S, Kate C, Kelly C, bloop. Cowboys are the worst franchise ever. Miss Macabre, Nuroku, Rachel G, Cold Warrior, ain't nothing like a baby fart. What is that a reference to? What is that a reference to? Nobody knows. We've had some strange conversations on the show. So we're not going to change for anyone. D from H-Town, Meta A, Monster Mom 04, Dave D, Wicked Alley, Dark Snark. Jesse is too scared to read jokes that go over most people's heads, so I demand someone else read Patreon names. If you want this to take about 15 minutes longer, I'm going to keep doing it. Megan S, Arcade Hunters, Wayne C, Crystal Quinn, Halloween 3 is the best, and Rob has bad taste. Thick Boy Freddy's baby mama was definitely yeeted. Alicia E. Thick Boy Freddy allegedly went to Rafferty's and all I got was a lousy clock. No thanks to Rob. Apple's new endeavor is Ione, California. For the lowercase I. I get that. Okay. Sam from Nepal, Joe R. Just Al Capone, Huggy Bear. I am Chunkosaurus Rex, the rotund rodent, kneel before my plumpness. Brennan, what the fuck?
That's the Weird Things with Dave.
That was the squirrel.
Oh, was it? Okay. All right. Just wanted to see what's going on with Brennan. Anna C, Mariah M, Kirley J, Cody G, Hooply Whooply, Soph, and I'm sorry, sir, you have Theophilus. There is no cure. So, yeah.
Glad you had to sit through that, Bridget.
That took a while, but yeah, you guys can join Patreon. $3 a month got you there, and get ad-free episodes, bonus content, and as you move up the tiers, you get all sorts of goodies. Unlocks a whole bunch of good stuff, but once again, make sure you go follow the Ghost Bunny podcast. You can find it on all your favorite podcasting platforms. Check out Bridget and all the things that she does and all the spooky stuff. And almost forgot to thank people. But no, I just profusely thanked a ton of people. But shout out to another Vice who threw 20 gifted hometown ghost stories. That's the name of our show. Memberships in Super Chat. $19.99 in Super Chat from Lockwood and Company, and then 10 gifted from Whisper. Thank you so much for your generosity. Keeps the show going. Anything else, gentlemen?
Bridget, you're gonna have to come do an investigation with us.
Oh, I would love to.
Yeah, we'll keep you posted on the West Coast tour.
Yeah, I'll keep you posted. I go visit my sister in Boston, so I'll let you guys know when I'm out that way.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, let us know, and I'll make sure that we book somewhere like the SK Pierce Mansion or something like that.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, just not in Boston. We refuse. We all live around Boston. I work in Boston. We refuse to cover Boston. One day we will. Be a very special treat. Anyways, that'll pretty much do it. Thank you again, Bridget. Once again, you're a legend for joining us on the show.
Yes. Thank you, guys. And thanks, everybody in the comments. I see all your messages. I appreciate it.
Sounds good. All right. We'll be back next week with another live episode of Hometown Ghost Stories. If you want to stay up to date on movie reviews, make sure you watch the new Frankenstein on Netflix. And I think we're dropping something else before that, right? Weapons? Did we drop Weapons yet? I don't remember. Nobody knows.
I just watched that.
What a crazy movie. But
I know.
Let's end the show. We'll talk to you guys next week. Have a good night. Bye. Thank you.
Bye, guys.